So, hey guys, welcome to Avidz tutorial course Learn C++, and this is part number 1 and it's the introduction, and it's actually our first tutorial series, so yay, happy for us, and happy for you too, I hope. So in this tutorial we're gonna go through the introduction to Visual Studio, the coding environment that we're going to use throughout this course. So yeah, let's jump right into it. What will we do in this course? We'll go through the basics of programming in C++, and that includes like variables, if-else, loops, functions. We will not go through object-oriented programming, and that is because the basics of programming is good to know before going into object-oriented programming, and I think it's better not to mix them. So we do the basics in this course, and then maybe another tutorial series we will go through object-oriented programming. We will only make console-based applications, and that is because well, when you write something and you want to know if it works, it's easier to see the output in a console rather than on the in a visual application, because in a visual application you have to take care of, you know, where buttons are positioned and stuff like that. So we will not use any buttons, we will not use any custom windows and stuff like that. We will only have the console. And for those of you who don't know what the console is, it's the black window with white text. It's the most basic you can get. So yeah. We will also go through general thinkabouts, and what I mean about general thinkabouts is stuff like indenting and how to write the code in a nice way so that other people can understand it, because that's a big part of programming, is to make code that when someone else reads it, they know exactly what each part of the code does. So yeah, but when that pops up, I'm gonna go through it, so we don't worry about that right now. OMG, what's a programming language? Well, let's say that you have a friend that is German and you are English, and the only way for you to give him instructions is that you learn German and give him instructions. But if it was an easier way, so let's say if you modify your language a little so that you understand it, makes it easier, and then you put it into a translator, and the translator takes that language and outputs German so that your friend will understand. That would make it a lot easier. So a programming language is a language that is easier for us to understand than plain machine code. Machine code is not easy to understand. It's sorry, it's very hard to understand, and it's very hard to get a hold of. And this is where the compiler comes in. So when you write code in a programming language like C++ or Java or C or C#, there's a compiler who takes your code and compiles it to machine code, or it actually compiles it to assembler code, not machine code. We go through that in a bit. So yeah, machine code. Machine code is ones and zeros. That's it. It's plain ones and zeros. The compiler then. So what does the compiler do? It creates assembly code. So yeah, assembly or assembler is a programming language also. It's a modified machine code with some other parts in it. It's still very, very hard to understand and very hard to learn, but it's easier than machine code. But the compiler takes your C++ in this example and creates assembly code. And then when the computer gets the assembly code, it makes it into machine code. So the compiler is also auto-checking for error. Anyway, in Visual Studio it does. I don't know about all compilers. I haven't used a lot of other compilers because Visual Studio is great. But for now it's auto-checking for error. So in this course you don't have to worry about getting other errors than what the compiler tells you. Sorry. So when the compiler has done the assembly code and you run your program, then it's plain assembly code. The OS reads this, converts it into machine code, and then the processor or the CPU in the computer is the unit that takes in the machine code and then does whatever it should do with it. So it's the CPU responsible for the CPU is responsible for making the right decisions out of the machine code. So machine code then, this is not very important to know, but it's, you know, have a small perspective over what it is kind of good. This is machine code, ones and zeros. I'm sorry, I'm kind of sick today, so yeah, but we're gonna go through this anyway. So yeah, all computers or all brands of computers have different machine codes, so they take in machine code and do different stuff with it. And this is why the compiler makes your code into assembly code, because then the computer knows how to interpret the assembly code. So machine code is also the lowest level of code. It's the absolute lowest. It's the code that the computer takes in, or the CPU takes in. So you can't like make machine code into anything lower. Ones and zeros is binary code. It's you know. So yeah. The preprocessor then. What does the preprocessor do? So it works like a linker in the program or in your code. So when you write code, you have a document with functions and stuff, but maybe you want to have another document with code in it inside the first document, so you can use these documents in each other, and that's when the linker comes in. You will see that later, but the preprocessor calculates linking, so it checks to see, yeah, in this document you have included, say, another document. So we have a document that's called main.cpp. So it's the main document of the C++ program, and there you have included a string document with functions for strings. So then the preprocessor checks to see, does the string document exist, and if it does, it links it. So then it tells the compiler where it is, and calculates what's the fastest way and best way to link them together. So yeah, this is where we will use the include statement in the C++ files. So you always include files in the top of the document. Absolute top is where you include files, and this could be libraries that already exist, and this could also be your own libraries that you could make. The general program in C++, how it's built up and stuff like that. And it contains a main function. It may include includes of strings and stuff like that in the top, but then it's a main function. And this is the difference between C++ and some other programming languages, that it needs a main function. If it doesn't have a main function, it won't run, and it can only have one main function. So you can't make a function that writes out something if it's not the main function. So this is the core of the program that we write. It also has an integer return type, and that means in the end of the main function it returns 0 always, because 0 means fully executed, or executed without problems or without errors and stuff like that. If it doesn't return 0, you will have a problem, or you have a problem with your program. So this means that if the program doesn't come to return 0, there could be a fault in the maybe an if statement. You have an if statement that checks something and it doesn't work. It says it like maybe it's like 1 equals 2, and then else if 2 equals 3. It doesn't work. So then it won't return 0, because it won't come to it. Or maybe it will. It depends on how you write your code. But if it doesn't come to return 0, the program will shut down, and it will give you an error. So yeah, I think that's probably it that we need to go through before going into Visual Studio and going through that. So let's jump right into Visual Studio. So here we are in Visual Studio. So yeah, this is what it looks like when you start it up. And I'm logged in, so my name is visible here, and I have a lot of recent projects and stuff. But we will go ahead and make a new project so I can show you some stuff. So yeah, we're gonna use Windows console application, as I said before, because it's easier. So yeah, if you don't have this, you're gonna go into Windows 32 here, or Win32, and then it will say like download, and we can name it to introduction, and then we put it in here in episode 1 in project intro. So we don't create a directory for solution, and we don't add to source control, just make it easy. So we make the project like this. I'll go next. We want to make an empty project. We don't have to do this security development lifecycle. So just skip that and go to empty project, and make sure it's a console application. Press finish. So you can place it anywhere you want when you do this. It doesn't really matter. So here we are in the project now, and we don't have any files to write in right now. So here on the side we have source files, resource files, header files. So resource files may be like a txt file, text file, or a movie file, or image, or stuff like that. Source files are the C++ files, or the files that run, and the header files are files that include, well, it includes different stuff, but we're gonna go through header files later on. So just right click on source files, then add a new item. So make sure it's a C++ file. It has .cpp, and we can name this main. So just press add, and here we have our main file. So this is our project for now, and it's an easy project. The basics here of Visual Studio is you have project here, and you don't really have to care about this project stuff right now. The build menu is pretty important. So at the bottom here we have compile. You can also press Ctrl F7, but when you write your code and you're done writing your code, you always have to press compile, or at least the first time. And if you include more files or something like that, you have to compile it again because of the preprocessor running and check linking, as I talked about before. So when you have compiled it, you build it. We build a solution and put everything together into a project file. So or a solution file. So you can run this. It makes an executable program. When you have done that, when you have built it, compile it, build it, then we can go into debug and do a start without debugging. If we start with debugging, it's gonna go through the whole document, write out warnings and errors and stuff like that during the execution of the program. So there we can also set places to stop and places to go forward and stuff like that. So just so you will see the compile and build stuff, I'm gonna just write a basic program, and the classic program to write is hello world. So we can do like this, it's commentary, and then do hello world program. And then, as I said before, in the top we always have include files if we want to have include files. And for this program we need to include the stream the stream file. So we have to include a file that contains the code for streaming out to the screen, or streaming from the keyboard into the computer and stuff like that. So we have to include IO stream. IO stream stands for input output stream, so it's both. And then, as I said before, we need a main function, otherwise the program will not run. So if we say I make a function that's named like this, and then I write cout hello world, then return 0. When I compile this, build this, we're gonna get these errors because we don't have a main function. So it can't find the main function. So if we just go through, rename this to main, and then we compile it, build it, and then we can run it. So then you see hello world, and then it says press any key to continue. So if I press enter here, or F or whatever, I can press, say, P, press P, and then the program shuts down. Because what happens there is that after this hello world, it wants to return 0, and when it returns 0, it's executed well and the program shuts down. So this is the basics of programming in C++. This is the important first stuff to know about the main function, about the about the return of a 0. So all this include stuff and cout and stuff like that, we will go through this later in another tutorial, in the next tutorial, I believe. But for now, this is what we'll do. So yeah, I think we're kind of done here for today. So please like and subscribe this video if you liked it, if you enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't, and then you're free to put a thumbs down. But please don't. And I know I said all the time through this video, because I'm not used to talking into a microphone. Also, the sound may be pretty bad from the microphone. I'm having another microphone, but the drivers for the microphone didn't work, so yeah, I couldn't use it for now. But I think I will fix that until the next tutorial, so I will get a little bit better sound for my voice. And also, I hope I'm not sick during the other tutorial or during the next tutorial. So yeah, that's probably it. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss when we upload new tutorials. And cheese out, brothers and sisters.